teman-teman semua, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa kabarnya nih teman-teman semua, semoga sehat selalu ya. Dan kembali lagi bersama Biscuit tentunya. Kali ini kita masih mau melanjutin requestan dari teman-teman semua. Thank you untuk teman-teman yang sudah kirimin link requestnya ke DM Instagram aku di ysrizqiyyah. Nah, untuk teman-teman yang sudah pernah atau belum pernah datang ke Malaysia, kali ini ada share dari sahabat kita tentu saja ya teman-teman ya, pengalaman pada saat datang ke Malaysia, kira-kira hal apa sih yang tidak disukai. Langsung saja kita nonton ya videonya, karena pengalaman orang itu beda-beda gitu kan. Ada yang pengalamannya A, ada yang B, ada yang C. Kali ini kita mendengarkan dari kakak cantik ini, langsung aja kita nonton videonya. 1, 2, 3.
So here are 5 things that I have found really difficult whilst living here in Malaysia.
Okay.
I've been here now for 3 full months.
Wah, udah lama.
Couldn't list 10 actually. I came up with 5 and even that was quite difficult.
Okay.
So let's take it from the top. The first thing that I have found difficult adapting to situations here in Malaysia are the insects. Mosquitoes, I'm kind of getting used to it. The repellent is working. I'm needing less of it because I think my blood is getting accustomed to the mosquitoes. Have to say though, they're not like those evil ones, you know, where they bite you and you come up with this massive bump and it takes forever for it to go away. They literally bite you. There leaves like a bit of a red spot and itches for a bit and it's gone. So that
kemarin aku pas liburan nggak ketemu nyamuk, mungkin karena tidur di hotel kali ya.
That you could imagine with insects you're going to find here in Malaysia. And
kalau tidurnya di rumah mungkin ketemu
the geckos that come inside the house. But you know what? There's things that you can do about it. You've got repellents, they've got sprays. This place that I'm staying at right now has actually got like the netting. You know, they call it in jalia in Urdu, but they're like a mesh that goes inside the glass so you can still open the window, enjoy the fresh air, but without having any of the bugs coming in. Ants, another big problem. But like I said, there's repellents. It's not that big an issue, but it is something that I recognised as different to being in the UK.
Yeah, okay.
So the other thing that I found difficult here was, and I found this the very first time that I came here. So this is number 2 on my list. When I came here in December, I came with a tidy wedge of cash to spend. I found that relatively easy, but some places they wouldn't even accept my cash.
Oh,
now,
memang,
the whole world is going
memang.
into this whole e-money thing, right? And electronic rather than having cash, complete cashless. And I have to say, Malaysia has moved quite forward with it. Maybe it's because of the Chinese influence, being so close to China and the fact that there's so many Chinese living here in this country. So here's the difficulty. You have got, when you come from the UK, from your bank account, you need to transfer into a transferring account, like TransferWise, and then from there, you're going to transfer it into your Touch and Go. You need to download apps. They've got apps for everything. There's that, there's Do It Now, but they're e-wallets. And so some shops that you go into, you want to pay by what they call Wave, which is Apple Pay, or you want to pay with your bank card, or you want to pay with cash, and they don't accept it. They only accept the e-wallets. Now there's a reason, because I asked them, why so much complication? I asked a shopkeeper and he said the reason was that there's a guarantee with, like when you pay for something by Visa card, for example, you could call back the transaction. There's also a lot of crime, there's also a lot of fraud that occurs with, you know, the contactless cards. So they brought out this new e-wallet as a movement into cashless society, and that is guaranteed, because when you make your payment, it hits their bank account and the transaction is guaranteed and it is confirmed and it is secure. So that's one of the things. But so you're going to have to get yourself a Touch and Go account. You can get a Touch and Go card, but you're going to have to keep topping it up, because believe me, the amount of times that I've run out of money on my Touch and Go, it's been frustrating. Also, because I'm dealing with pound conversion and I'm here holidaying, so my expenditure may be a little bit on the high side. They have a monthly limit that I'm allowed to spend. So I might decide that I want to do something and ping, it's declined because I've hit my limit. You can ask for the limit to be increased, but it's not straightforward and easy, and I've given up doing it, and I'll do it another day. So they have toll crossings, quite a lot of toll crossings, which you're going to need the card for. And Touch and Go seems to be the way to go. So if you are planning on visiting Malaysia, get Touch and Go. It's blue. I'll stick a little symbol here for you to recognize it with. Download it to your phone because you are going to need it. And most places have touch and go. And they really rely on your phone. So do get yourself a SIM when you come here. It's inexpensive and it will just streamline and make your life a lot more seamless. I also found that a lot of my Visa cards weren't working in the machines. And sometimes I go to shops and I can use my Visa card in some, but not in others. Starling is a bank account that I've opened up in addition because of the charging structure compared to the mainstream banks. So transfer what I want into Starling. Starling then moves over into Wise. Wise moves over into Touch and Go. Do you see what I mean? Why it's the difficulty.
Okay.
The next thing that I found difficult actually was, it's actually a positive, but it's negative. So number 3 on my list is the food.
Kenapa?
If you're a foodie, go on a diet before you come to Malaysia. I would recommend that you lose at least a stone, 5 kilograms as at least, because when you get here, there is an exceptional variety of food that is so tasty. You will always be eating out. The other reason you're always going to be eating out is because it's so cheap. Eating out here, you could have a meal for as little as 15 ringgit.
Apalagi kalau udah di street food.
And it's a full-on home-cooked style meal. And then you can go to the higher end if you really want to. But I have found that because there's not many of us here, that eating out is actually cheaper than me buying food from the local supermarket and cooking at home. The cooking here, the food here is very clean. The environment is very clean. And so I haven't experienced having difficulty with my stomach. I think there'll always be some places that you go to that are going to affect you. But so far, so good. I've been lucky. I haven't had any issues from any place that I've eaten out. Now, eating out is not just a social thing, but it's a requirement. And we were going to supermarkets spending 500-600 ringgits per week with a plan that we were going to cook at home, and so many times that we did. But I found that we were throwing out some things by the end of the week because they'd gone off, or they're still in the cupboard and they didn't get eaten because we were eating out. So I find now that as I'm traveling, I think that eating out for me is the simplest, easiest option, and it just is stress-free. But as I said, the difficulty with that is self-control, and if you have none, you will gain weight. I have control, but I've gained, and everybody said I would. And I have to say, another reason for that is there's sugar in everything. You buy a juice, you have to say sugar-free. You know, you've got to check the meal itself. You'll be, even the salads might have sugar in them, so you need to make sure that when you're eating out, that you ask them if it's got sugar in it, because they'll make it for you. If you don't want, if you don't want sugar in it, they'll do it for you. Okay, moving on to my next one.
Okay.
Is my number 4, and that is the distance from the UK. So I've always been the kind of person that wants to live near. Like, I want to travel nearby. I've never really ventured that far. The furthest I went to was Pakistan. I went to Saudi Arabia. I went to Dubai. They're like the furthest. I've never gone any further than that. The whole long-haul flight was not appealing to me. And it was a definite no. There's not a chance in hell that I am going to travel on an aeroplane for 14 hours or waste that much time, because not only is the distance, but you've got a 7-hour to 8-hour time difference here. So their night is your day and your day is their night. So that becomes can be a negative, can be a difficulty, but at the same time, it can also be a positive in some perceptions. So the way that I've mastered this is you've got to have time and you've got to break it up. So instead of doing a full 14 hours, which I have done and it was doable, so I'll give it that, stop off somewhere and do 2 days in another country. How more amazing could it get that not only do you get to your destination here in Malaysia, but you get to stop off somewhere? You know, they've got Singapore Airlines, there's Qatar, there's Dubai, there's Saudi, there's multiple airlines that you can fly with that will help you break up your flight, and you can do a stopover for a day or 2 just to regenerate and, and refresh yourself for the next leg of the flight. So the distance can be a problem because, it's not as quick and easy for you, if required, for you to then zoom back to the UK. Like if you're living in Turkey or Egypt, 4 hours later, you're back on your doorstep. Well, allowing for the traveling transitions, you're back on your doorstep. So, you know, it's a whole day to 2 days before you can get back. So I'm going back this time because my daughter's having a baby. I'm making sure that I'm going to be there a day before. She might deliver early, I don't know. But there's no way on this earth that if she called me and said, Mum, I'm in labour, that I'm going to get there in time. I'll probably get there when the baby's arrived. Do you know what I mean? So same applies to births, deaths, marriages. You just have to organise yourself a little bit better to allow for that time difference and the travel
Jarak
time.
yang sangat jauh.
So, last but not least, my number 5 is going to surprise you and come as a bit of a shock, but the difficulty that I faced as one of my 5 and my final 5 is the weather, surprisingly.
Kenapa?
Now, when you come from cold climates like England, you've adapted your body to that temperature, you see. And when you come here, there's something else
negara
that occurs
tropis.
that you were not accustomed to, and that is sweating. You are going to sweat some. In fact, that's why most people here are healthy, because their bodies are expelling all of those toxins and just bringing back a healthier body by sweating it out. In the UK, I used to sit in a sauna maybe twice a week just to get my body back to sweating again, getting my pores used to it. And here it's going to happen itself because it's hot. And I will warn you that it's hot. My mum went back simply because she was
Negara
here in March.
tropis,
We had
Indonesia
some
juga gitu.
36s in temperature and it was way too much for her. And yes, you've got air conditioning in your house, you've got air conditioning in your car. It is not as unbearable as the likes of the Arab country, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, when they have extreme heat 46. You know, you can't even stand outside for 2 minutes without melting. So here the max I think we've seen is 36. It wasn't for very long, and you're back down to your low end of 30s. And some places you can get your 27s and even 25. So if you go to the Highlands, where I am right now, I'm sat out here. I don't have air conditioning. I'm not melting. And this is peak time, guys. I'm out at like 1:30 in the afternoon. Whereas if you go to the likes of KL or even maybe Malacca, where I'm staying, this kind of time of day, it's quite hot. And you might not want to stand out in it for too long. But what I will say is that give it some time. If you're planning on moving here to stay, your body will adapt to the temperature. I'm actually going back to the UK in about 2 weeks' time, and I'm not looking forward to even their summer, because their summer is going to be cool for me. So I'm going to be that person walking around the streets of London in a coat in 27, 28, 29 degrees, because now my body has adapted too. You know the really funny thing? When I used to go to places like Saudi, Turkey, when the weather was really hot, and there's me with my temperature control to the UK, you know, we're like thin dresses, summer dresses, sweltering, melting, and there they are in their hoodies and trackies with their trainers and maybe even a scarf, because they're not used to it. That's their cold, and this is their hot. So the weather is something that you will adjust to, you'll adapt to it, give it some time, but it is glorious to wake up every single day to sunshine and this. Another thing about Malaysia, when I talk about the weather, is the rain. It pours down. You'll be driving down the motorway and it'll be clear and sunny. And the next thing is, boom, there's this downpour that even your window wipers can't handle. And then you'll drive some more and you're back in the sunshine again because there was a cloud over that bit. It doesn't actually last that long. So footwear is important, that you do wear something that in case you get caught out in it, that your shoes are going to handle it, and having an umbrella is also beneficial. But because it doesn't last very long, you can take shelter in a shop, and they're actually, like public places have been designed so that if it does rain, that the shops have like these outside shelters underneath them. Unlike, you know, in the UK, you'll have your flush building. Here, most of the buildings will have those little walkways underneath if it does rain. On a positive, the rain is not, it's not horrible, it's not cold, so it doesn't feel bad because it's warm. It feels quite nice. The other thing that you're going to have to adapt yourself to is thunderstorms. When I first came here and I stayed out in that coconut dome, that was my breaking point. Prior to that, I'd hear them and I would jump. But once I'd slept in this coconut dome, I was practically out in the thunderstorm. I could see the lightning. I could really feel the thunder resonate through my body. And after that, I started to really like and enjoy it. And if a thunderstorm came on, I wanted that loud crashing. I wanted that spark of light because actually it's quite beautiful. So they're the 5 things that I found difficult. I actually have a 6th, and that was, it was difficult coming up with the difficulties. Do you see what I mean? So it goes without saying, there are no words to describe life in Malaysia. And if you've enjoyed what I have posted, please like it, please share it and subscribe so that we can share this information with as many people as possible, so that that misunderstanding that you have of Malaysia can be wiped out. Because I had a huge misunderstanding when I came here, and I have been so pleasantly surprised that I have forgotten about my homeland. I've even forgotten about my kids. Still love you guys, but you're going to have to come to me. And then once you do, I pretty much guarantee you aren't going to want to go back. And as I have done, and I am going to add to every single one of my videos, Malaysian government, give me permanent residency. I want to stay here. I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to live here. And I will be an advocate for your country. And I'll do whatever you tell me to do for the rest of my life. Thanks for watching.
Wah, senang ya mendengarkan penjelasannya teman-teman. Nah itu tuh ya, salah satu di antara banyak tadi poin tentu saja ya teman-teman ya. Hal sulit gitu ya pada saat datang ke Malaysia, itu salah satunya ya. Jadi terkadang tempat-tempat di Malaysia ini memang nggak menerima cash, padahal kita kan biasanya kalau datang ke Malaysia liburan tuh kita udah punya cash gitu kan. Nah biasanya juga harus semuanya tuh touch and go. Nah tapi beberapa juga ada sih yang bisa pakai card gitu ya. Dan beruntungnya kemarin aku pas ke Malaysia itu punya 3 card yang berbeda. Jadi dicobain satu-satu nih, yang ini nggak bisa, yang ini nggak bisa, yang ini bisa. Nanti kadang-kadang di tempat lain tuh bisa ganti-ganti gitu. Dan oke teman-teman, demikiannya video kita kali ini. Misalkan nanti ada request apa lagi silahkan tulis aja di kolom komentar. Kalau nggak bisa kasih linknya di kolom komentar, boleh kasih ke DM Instagram aku di ysrizqiyyah. Aku akhiri dulu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sampai jumpa lagi di videoku selanjutnya. Bye bye, next time, bye.